Alright then guys, it is time to hit the RS2000 and have a stab at making this tube chassis. How well this is going to turn out, no one knows, but I'm going to do my absolute best to explain exactly what I'm doing, and sometimes it might even sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I have no idea what I'm doing. This is winging it to its fullest extent. So for those of you that are new to the channel, this is my 1992 Ford Escort Mark V RS2000. And we bought it sight unseen off the internet, Cosworth replica, and as you can tell, it hasn't ended well. It has escalated rather quickly, this car, from what should have been a tiny project into a rather large one. We have fixed rust, and more rust. We have put so much new metal back into this thing, it's almost a new car already. But unfortunately, most of the rust laid in the floor, which, needless to say, we've cut out. And is why we are going for a tube chassis. So we have got a bunch of tube down here. We've got 38mm and 45mm. All of this stuff was supplied by friends at Tube Bender UK, so I'll leave all of their details in the description below. So hopefully if you guys need any roll cage stuff whatsoever, they send out tubes bent to order, they send you full lengths, whatever you need, hit them up and they will sort you out. They're really top guys, girls, whatever. So thank you very much, Tube Bender UK. We have also got, for this little endeavour of mine, some more tools, which is a tube bender. So we've got a 38mm die and a 45mm die for that as well. And I have been patiently waiting for 2 months to open this thing so I can open it with you guys and we can all see what that thing's all about at the same time. And we have also got a tube notcher. So if you're unfamiliar with what a tube notcher is, you basically put a hole saw in the end there, you put your tube through there, and then you put a drill on the end there, and then you basically hole saw through the pipe, which leaves you with something looking like that. And then in turn you can then put your tubes together like that, and then you weld round and make it all as one. Now I have already practiced because I am TIG welding all this. So I have been practicing, and if I can actually get the camera to focus, so far so good. Do need a little bit more practice, which is why I have cut some more of these pieces. So we will be going back to this shortly and having a bash at, well, a bit more practice really. But I think without further ado, I need to put you on a tripod so we can finally see what is going on in that box and try and figure out this tube bender stuff. Well guys, if you're a big kid at heart like I am and you used to like Meccano, then you'll understand why all of this makes me so happy. We have got a big old Meccano set right now. We've got an 1.75" die, we've got 1.5 inches, and we've got 1 inch. We've got all the associated straps, all them bits and bobs, these little bits that slide in through here. We've got our degree disc, which this thing points to as you start bending, tell you which degree you're at when you're bending it. And yeah, we have got a lot of stuff, but I think for once in my life I'm actually going to read the instructions and see how I actually go about building this thing properly, because I don't really fancy this thing falling over or coming apart whilst I'm trying to bend a tube, because that is going to end very badly. So I think what I'll do is I'll pick you guys back up once this is all assembled and we'll pop a tube in there and see how well it bends some tube, shall we? Look at the size of this thing, man. It is absolutely huge. What a beast. It weighs a ton as well, but it is such a cool contraption. Obviously you've got all these pins here, these lock various things into place. I'll go through it more when I start pulling bends on it, but this is your sort of indicator of what degree of angle you've pulled on the bend, and blah blah blah. But that is as far as I can go with it for tonight, because unfortunately I bought these little M10 bolts to fix it down. However, now I've got it out, there's a lot of wiggle room on that, so I think I'm going to change these to M12s, because I don't really fancy pulling on this and then this shears off, everything topples over and I have a real bad day. So we're gonna get some M12s tomorrow. We'll fix it down here, which then will give me enough room to have the handle going that way to pull back that way. The tube can then shoot off down beside the table here, and then I've got all this space here for the bend to form in. So all in all, it's actually worked out quite well, the location I'd planned for this, so that is all good. So yeah, I'll pick you guys back up tomorrow once I've got some new bolts, and we'll send it on this thing and see what happens. Alright then guys, we are there. We've got our M12 bolts, we have got a 20mm drill bit to suit said bolts, and we've got these square washer plate spacer things, because if you come over it, as you can see, the tube bender is currently not level, so we need to pop a couple of these underneath this right hand side to level it off, so when I pull my main hoop, the left hand side of the tube is going to be at the same plane as the right hand side of the tube, because otherwise you'll have wonky feet and it'll look a bit pants. So yeah, we need to level that off. And last but not least, we have got my trusty old Milwaukee SDS work drill in the workshop, ready to put some work in and get this thing bolted in. So Milwaukee, if you're watching this, I do a lot of advertising for you guys with all my videos and all the Milwaukee stuff I use, so I'm more than happy for you to help a brother out with some new gear. Just saying. But what we're going to do, folks, is we're going to go through with a 12, 16, and then finally the 20, just so I don't go murdering that 20mm drill bit on the first hole. So we'll step it up in stages, and hopefully that'll keep all drill bits looking a bit more happy for a little bit longer. So yeah, I think there's nothing more to be said really. I'm going to put my headphones on because this is going to get dead loud dead quick, and let's send it, see what happens. We are ready to party, folks. It is fully bolted in, just need to cut the tops of the bolts off, and we are fully level. Can't get better than that. So I just need to pop John's bit of scrap tube out here and then chuck in my bit that I've just cut, and we shall pull our first 90, which I need in order to get certain angles and measurements for making bends and things like that. So let's pop this tube out. I'll chuck the other one in and we can pull our first bend finally. All right, let's see if I can show you guys how this thing is all set up. So you pop your tube in there, pop your strap round the tube, then you've got a pin that goes in there. Bit of a pain sometimes to line up, but that is in there. And then you've got your former bit that follows the bend around there, which is underneath. Pop the pin through that. There we go. And then when you've got all of that in there, you've got this little nut or bolt here. Tweak that up so it's nice and snug. And essentially, at that point, you're ready to go. So next step after that then, you've got to take the slack out of the tube on all of this die and whatnot. Make sure you're zeroed. And then go full send. Let's do it. Well, Houston, we have a little dilemma. I don't know if you can really tell on camera, but once you get to 70 degrees, the tube doesn't want to follow the die and it just starts trying to punch outwards, which in turn is kinking it. So this is my second attempt. This is my first attempt, and again, at 70 degrees, it done that. So I thought, all right, maybe it's something I've done. So I cut another bit of tube, chucked it in, 70 degrees, done the same thing. Not only is it doing that, but it's also heavily marking all this tube. So there's them gouges there, all these gouges around here. It seems to be every time you stop to ratchet it back, it leaves another gouge. So it's got to be something to do with this die here. It's got to be digging in somewhere. So yeah, overall guys, I'm not very happy with this thing. I've spent a lot of money on this and it is, yeah, crap, it's not working. So build quality overall is absolutely rubbish. I mean, there needs to be some shims or something in that. It's just, yeah, as much as it's a cool thing, not very happy. So I need to contact this company tomorrow, see what they're willing to do about it. But until then, I'm kind of held up now. So yeah, I'll speak to them guys tomorrow, see what they're going to do, and I'll pick you guys back up next time down there. Alright then guys, well what a 2 weeks I've had. This has been an absolute nightmare trying to get this sodding thing to work. So we have finally got to a point now though where we have actually got our, what I now know to be called a cheater pipe, so, or tube, sorry. So I know people get funny about that. But let's have a little chat about this. So as you can see, I've got a small selection of the scrap still in here with me, but I have actually gone through an entire 5 metre length of 45mm CDS tube trying to remedy this. But as you can see, I've gone through various stages of it kinking over, slowly getting better, and then finally we actually got a 90-degree bend out of it. But let's have a quick chat about what I found the issues to be on this. So the first one was this U-clamp. Basically your tube fits in there, you pinch it down, and that should stop the pipe wanting to wander out. But the original one I had was a bit too loose, so I had to physically weld the tube to that edge to stop the tube from pulling out, which isn't ideal, as you can imagine. The other issue I found was this little dowel pin here was not set correctly, so this wasn't sitting parallel to the die, so I've sorted that out. The other issue was this edge here was so sharp it was actually gouging into my pipe and causing all sorts of damage on the tube itself. So sorted that out, rounded all that off, and then inside the follower you can still sort of see the machining marks, but if you imagine a set of pliers with the teeth inside, that is basically what I was dealing with in there, so it was gripping hold of the tube. So I've sanded all that out, smoothed it off as best I can, and I'm actually lubricating this now when I'm trying to pull a bend. So we are finally there. So would I recommend one of these? No, it's been way too much aggro. I've never had to work on a tool in order for it to work before, so this is yeah, save up a little bit more, get a JD squared one or something of a similar nature, because that thing's just been driving me nuts. But enough of me bitching and moaning about that. What we have here is a cheater tube. So what you do is essentially pop that up where you need your bends, and where I've taped it indicates the start of my bend in the tube bender. So we basically need to go around, mark this up inside the car, and then that will give us our measurements and all that sort of fun stuff, and then we can actually start pulling, hopefully, the main hoop for this roll cage. So let's get in the car, measure it all up, and to see where we end up very soon. Alright, let's go through some tools that you're going to need for this before I begin measuring anything. You're going to need a tape measure, a pen, cheater tube, roller masking tape, a notepad. That is highly important if you're anything like me, because you will end up forgetting your measurements that you've just taken. And you're going to need some sort of angle finder. So we've got a ruler type angle finder, a protractor, or a digital angle finder. I'm personally going to be using this digital angle finder for this. But once you've got all that together, the main thing you need to do first is get your rough measurement for your main hoop. So what we're going to do is get the tape measure, keep it nice and snug to the body, measure up from the sill all the way up the B pillar, across the roof, back down that B pillar. That will then give us our rough overall measurement for this main hoop tube. Obviously we'll have to cut a little bit off the bottom when all is said and done, but that will give us a shorter bit of tube to work with rather than working with a whole 5 metre length. So after we've done that, we need to work out the centre point of the car. Everything measurement wise and bend wise is going to work from this centre point to keep everything symmetrical. So we'll find the centre point, and then using our cheater tube we will mark out roughly where the first bend starts, and same again where the second bend starts, and then like I say, everything should then be symmetrical across the car rather than having this side bent up here and the other side bent down there. That's the theory, at least anyway. Hopefully I don't balls this up because it'd be very costly. So yeah, I think without me waffling on too much longer, let's pop you in the tripod and we'll start taking some measurements and then hopefully make our way over to the tube bender very soon. That was nice and easy, folks. That weren't too bad at all actually. So we've finally got all of our measurements. Start to finish of our main tube needs to be 11 foot roughly, so we'll cut that out in a minute. Our centre line worked out at 17.5, so we've now got our centre point to work everything back from. This measurement here, 345. Now that measurement is based off this cheater tube being nice and snug up against the body of the car. However, I don't want my roll cage to be that tight, so what I've done is given myself a 15mm allowance there. So we'll take 15 off 345, that will give us 330 from the centre point to the start of our first bend. This measurement from that bend to that bend will remain as 325, and then we've got to pull the first bend at 67 degrees. So that is the roof line down the A-pillar. Now needless to say, from the centre point to here needs to work out at 90 degrees. So that leaves us with a 23-degree bend to go on here. And then obviously overall it needs to be a complete 180. So yeah, It's all exciting times. Right, let's go and cut a bit of tube out and chuck it in the tube bender, and hopefully I won't screw this up, because I'm actually quite excited to see a tube in here finally. Right, let's go and cut some tube up. Can you believe it, folks? It has gone and kinked the bleeding tube again. Honestly, I have had enough of this thing, and for a better word, it is pissing me off. I've put so much time into trying to make this thing work that I shouldn't have had to put into it, and it's still not bleeding working. My only saving grace with this bit is that I've got a decent bit of length before and after the bend, so I can use it on something else, but what a pain in the backside, man. Do not buy one of these. It is useless. Right, I'm just going to have to cut up another bit of tube. There's nothing else I can do at this point, but it is not all roses, boys and girls. It is not all roses. Right, let's cut another bit of tube, and hopefully we can do something to make this thing actually bend it properly. Well, I'm afraid I didn't film any of the bending of this because I was a little bit apprehensive as to whether or not it was even going to work. So I had Dean pop down for a little bit. He's given us a hand briefly, and we've ended up with this. Although it's still not 100%, it has flattened off this outer edge here ever so slightly, but it is usable, so I'm going to go ahead and carry on with it. So the next step is to measure down to here for our second bend. Same again on that side, and hopefully with those only being 23 degrees that we need, it's not going to do any damage to the pipe. So let's measure these out, and then we'll chuck it back in the tube bender. Hopefully have a main hoop very, very soon. We are locked and loaded, folks. We've got the level on there. This is something I haven't brought up yet, but when you're making your main hoop, when you're starting to bend the opposite leg to that one, you need to ensure that that side is level to that side, because otherwise that one's going to be up like that, that one's going to be down like that, and it's not going to be a fun time. So we are nice and level. and we are locked and loaded and ready to go. So let's hope and pray this thing doesn't screw this bit of tube up now, because that is going to be a bad time. So nothing else to it. Let's have a go and see what happens. Here we are then, folks, a few days later, and I have to admit, I never thought I'd see the day the way things have been going, but we finally have a main hoop in the car. I have to admit, this is V2. V1 actually left a fair old gap between the body of the car and the side of the tube, so unfortunately that has gone into the ever-increasing scrap pile, which is fun. But V2 has come out absolutely on point. It is touching the body there. We've got maybe a 5mm gap just up in this corner here, and then again the roof is practically touching the tube up there, so I'm more than happy with that. Everything looks symmetrical, everything looks good. Last thing left to do on this is just trim off the bottom down here, but I need to finalise where my box section's going in down here before I do anything too hasty and cut this down too short, so it's stupid. But I will be honest with you, it's not all roses. I have had a fair few cock-ups, and yeah, it's not come naturally to me. All this is actually quite hard. So anyone that does this on a daily basis and can knock one of these out in no time at all, my hat is absolutely off to you. Yes, it's a fine art, shall we say. But in the process of trying to figure all this out and learning things and whatnot, I've not really been doing a great job at filming, and during me learning and whatnot, I've ended up with my first forward hoop, or bar, or whatever the terminology is for that. The only thing left to do on that is finish off the notch there, so I will get into that a bit later on. But I think for the here and now, what I want to do next is actually move on to this side and get this forward hoop in. So next step is going to be chuck another bit of tube in this horrible thing and see if we can bend up the next section without ruining it. Right, well let's interrupt here quickly and have a little discussion about offset bend. Now with the forward hoops, you have to account for the fact that on a car, although your roof level comes straight, your windscreen comes down at an angle and then you need to go straight down to the floor at that point. That is your offset bend. Now I scoured the internet trying to find a decent explanation or videos on how you actually work that out, and I couldn't find nothing. So all I've done to work that out was simply put a spirit level up in this corner where I wanted my tube to land, held it down level, and then measured from that to the side of the sill, which worked out at 8 inches. So I've relayed that into the tube bender and it worked out perfect for that side. It was an 8-inch offset bend. So what I need to do now is basically set a level across here, make sure that's dead level, and then I'll measure from the floor to the center of my tube, and then I'll either raise it or lower it 8 inches to get my offset bend. Now obviously if you lift it, it will bend it one way, if you lower it, it will bend it the other way. So I have taken a note of which way I bent that one initially, so I'll bend this one the other way, and then I should get the tube bending down there and then down there with any luck. So fingers crossed, let's carry on. And there we have it, folks. She is very crudely placed into the car and looking pretty good. It is pretty much identical to the driver's side, which is what you want. The only thing I do need to tweak is that bend there. I need to give it a little touch more of a bend just to make this go down straight parallel with the door like the other side. But yeah, she's in, she's looking good. Fitment's pretty much on point. Once I've notched this, all of this will move over closer to the car, which will be ideal. So yeah, that is basically it for this. Just need to notch that, sort out that little kick on that bend, and then we're good to rock and roll. And then we just need to do that finalising on that notch there, and we're pretty much golden. So yeah, needless to say, I'm pretty stoked with how that's turning out now. We're actually starting to make moves in the right direction finally, and it is looking pretty good. Now, I would love to stay down here and get all that buttoned up with you guys tonight, but it is already too late for that, so I'm going to go home, go to bed, and I'll pick you guys back up next time I'm down here, and we will get those notches sorted out. See you then. have officially done a thing, folks. Look at that. That is now both the forward sections completely done at this point. All I need to do is put a little bevel on the edge here where we need to weld it, but we'll do that when we come to weld it. But overall, I am absolutely made up with that. These are basically the mirror image of each other. All the bends are in the same places, the heights are the same. Yeah, I couldn't be any happier with that. But as you would have seen, I did use the tube notcher for that, which, if I'm honest, this thing is an absolute faff to set up, so I don't think I'll be using it anymore. As you can see here as well, I've had to space this back section up because this cuts off centre to the tube ever so slightly, which isn't ideal, and I ended up using the flap disc on the tube anyway just to finish it off. So I think from now on we're going to cut our rough profile with the grinder and then finish it off with the flap disc on the other grinder there, because it just seems so much quicker. You don't have to set anything up, you just literally, well, you just do it by hand and figure it out. So yeah, happy days with that. But as you can see, it is all held in with a multiple array of different clamps and whatnot, and being in there with all this just being held up by clamps is a bit daunting, because I'm kind of waiting for one of these tubes to fall over and hit me on the head. So I think the next step is going to be making our perimeter around the inside of the car here. For that, we are going to be using some 40 by 40 box. Now the plan with the box is to cut 45s on the ends like that. So that side will go onto that with a 45, weld that up, and then I'm going to put another piece in between the two at a 45, and that will triangulate everything and make it nice and rigid. So that is the next step on the agenda. I've already got the two cut to go front to back on each side. All we need to do now is measure and cut these, and then we can start gluing them together. that is all of the perimeter boxing now done for here and now. I can't finish this off entirely because I still need to walk around inside there, but for now we've got the outer perimeter done, and we've done each little corner gusset as well, so that's made all the edges nice and solid. Eventually it will look something like that. So once I've chosen my gearbox, I can then cut this section out and add these middle pieces in and do some cross bracing, and that will make all of this nice and rigid. But like I say, for now I still need to get in there and I don't want it to become an obstacle course, so we'll leave that for the here and now. But yeah, I wish I could say it all went smoothly, but unfortunately when I started welding this in, the inner seal started distorting and going all funny, so I'm left with some gaps along here. So I think what we're going to do eventually is add a 45-degree plate and add some dimple dies in this, and we'll do that for the entire length of the inner seal on both sides, just to finish it off, give it a little bit more strength and just make it look a bit more fancy. So yeah, that's not the end of the weld, but for now I think the next step is going to be chuck this main hoop back in along with the two forward sections, so we can actually mark them out ready to be cut where they need to sit on top of this perimeter. Hopefully this will actually still fit in the car, because if I'm honest I haven't actually tried it with this perimeter section in, so fingers crossed I haven't made a big old boo-boo here, because my luck's not been great with this so far. So wish me luck folks, let's pop you on a tripod and I'll see if I can wrangle this thing back in the car somehow. And there we go folks, what a journey it's been, even just getting to this point, my god. But that is now all the perimeter done, the two forward sections done and the main hoop done. I have cut the main hoop down a little bit just so I've got a bit of a gap between the roof and the tube, just so it doesn't rub and whatnot. The perimeter I have left short for a reason. That is just so I can move all this roll cage back and then drop it down, just so I can weld around all the tubes fully, because I will be having a cross in the roof and I will be having a tube across the front of the windscreen there. So like I say, I need to be able to weld all the way around all that stuff. So that is the method behind the madness there. In order to move all this back though, I do need to cut this steering column support out, just so I can move everything back. But once that's all back in its place, I'll then weld this steering column support to the roll cage and all that will be fully supported again. But overall folks, pretty happy with how it's all starting to come together now. Obviously nothing's held in particularly well, it's all just kind of hanging in very precariously at the moment, so I think in the next episode we'll get into tacking some bits together, just so there's no chance of it all falling down on my head, because that wouldn't be ideal. But like I say, what a hell of a journey it's even been just getting to this point. This damn thing, well, what can we say about this? It's certainly given me a run for my money, and it has been an absolute pain in my backside, but I think we've finally sorted out all the issues we had on that. Finally, what a nightmare that thing turned out to be. But we are looking good, so everything is starting to come together now folks, and I would just like to say once again a huge thank you to Tube Bender UK. They've done us an absolutely blinding deal on all of this tube you see here. So I'll leave all their links in the description below. Please go and see them guys if you need anything roll cage related, straight lengths of tube, pre-bent sections, or even a whole roll cage. Go and see them guys and they'll be more than happy to sort you out. So thanks again to Tube Bender UK for helping us out on this one. This has been quite the endeavour, but I need to address the elephant in the room. We no longer have a blue Scooby in here, so unfortunately Dean's had to move out of the workshop, so it is all on me now. I'm paying all the rent as well as trying to build 2 cars, so as you can imagine that is going to get quite stressful quite quickly. So there may become a time where I need to put the van up for sale, but we shall see. Where there's a will there's a way, so hopefully that won't become the case, but needs must and all that, we'll see what happens. So yeah, that is going to be a wrap for this one, folks. Like I say, it has taken me so long even just getting to this point with all the issues of the tube bender, and yeah, me just trying to learn my way around all this roll cage tubing malarkey. So yeah, that is going to be a wrap. So like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Peace.